It's day 2 of Rahul Gandhi's questioning in the National Herald case. After being quizzed for nearly 4 hours in the morning, the Congress MP is now back at the Enforcement Directorate's office as the ED tries to piece together the money trail. The agency claims the Kolkata-based firm Dotec allegedly paid 1 crore to young Indian as a loan in 2010. The loan was paid when young Indian was just a 1-month-old entity and had a total worth of 5 lakh rupees. The agency alleges that the money paid as a loan by Dotex was never returned and was possibly laundered through young Indian. Sources have told CNN News 18 that according to Rahul Gandhi, Dotex is not a shell company and the loan was returned with interest. Just like Monday, Congress workers took to the streets protesting against this grilling by the Enforcement Directorate. Congress leaders Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel, other leaders of the party like Randeep Surjewala and Gaurav Gogoi were detained by the police. The entire case stems from a complaint that was filed by a BJP leader, Subramaniam Swamy, way back in 2012. So Swamy had, in fact, approached the court alleging that the assets of Associated Journals were fraudulently acquired and transferred to Young Indian, in which Sonia and Rahul Gandhi owned 38% shares each. Swamy had alleged that the Gandhis misappropriated funds, with Young Indian paying only 50 lakh to obtain the right to recover over 90 crore that Associated Journals owed to the Congress. The Congress has argued that Young Indian was a not-for-profit company that can neither accumulate profits nor pay dividends to its shareholders.
वो रोकेंगे, हम चलते जाएंगे। वो देश की तरक्की को रोकेंगे, वो रोजगार को छीनेंगे, हम उन्हें कटघरे में खड़े करते जाएंगे। वो नफरत के बीज बोएंगे, हम भाईचारे को बढ़ाएंगे। वो नौकरियां छीनेंगे, हम उनसे सवाल पूछेंगे।
Now they are trying to deviate, deflect and divert, and the hypocrisy is that on the one hand, when ED takes action against Satyendra Jain, against Aam Aadmi Party, the Congress Party celebrates it, says very good, take the resignation of Satyendra Jain. And when the action is on them, they say no, ED should not take action. So this kind of ED wahan kare to chamatkar, hum pe kare to gunegar, this double standard should not be adopted.
Ashish Maharishi is joining us live from outside the ED office in Delhi. Ashish, 10 hours of questioning yesterday, 4 hours and counting today. What is it that the ED is asking Rahul Gandhi?
So basically the Enforcement Directorate is looking forward for the money trail. I had spoken to certain sources in the Enforcement Directorate today the moment he left for lunch, and I tried to find out what was Rahul Gandhi being asked by the Enforcement Directorate officials, and they confirmed to me that on the question of Dotex, because that is where the money trail starts from. Dotex Merchandise is a Kolkata-based company. The allegation is that it's a shell company which has no business, but then it gave a loan of around 1 crore rupees to Young Indian, and there was hardly any interest paid, and the money was also not returned in time. So, but ultimately Rahul Gandhi said no, it's not a shell company, it was a proper transaction. Some interest was paid and money was returned at a later date when Young Indian had the finances to pay so. So, but ultimately, there is a special request by Rahul Gandhi, and it's the special request is that he does not want to write the statement. It is being typed. At least till lunch, 50 pages had been typed. That is what my sources in the Enforcement Directorate have confirmed to me, that 50 pages have been typed. Each page is being signed by Rahul Gandhi. These 50 pages are basically related to the money trail. They are talking about the functioning of Young Indian, the finances of Young Indian, how the finances were basically, how the finances were used for takeover of Associated Journal, how the debt was taken over, because the company Associated Journal had a debt of almost 92 crore rupees, which was then, against that Young Indian took over the shares. So these are the questions which are being asked by Rahul Gandhi. Yesterday it was a long day. His questioning got over by quarter to, around 8:15, 8:30. But, he just kept on reading his statement. He kept on rectifying his statement. Multiple times he made changes. He shifted paragraphs ups and down. Words were changed. And finally he left at around 11:20. My sources in the Enforcement Directorate tell me that he was very, very cautious. He was very cautious on each and every word that was being written in the statement, and that is why he checked the statement for almost 3 hours, 2 hours 50 minutes to be really precise, because questioning got over at 8:30, and he came out of the Enforcement Directorate office at around 11:20. So almost 3 hours he was looking at the statement, he was rectifying it, he was making changes, and ultimately he came out at around 11:20. Today again it was 4 hours of questioning, long questioning, because he came at around 11:10. At 11:10 he went inside the ED office. Questioning started at around 11:30. He went for lunch at around 3:30 and came back around 4:30. So 4 hours of questioning basically till now, and my sources say that's going to be late today as well.
Okay, Ashish, before I let you go, the case begins in 2012 when Subramaniam Swamy puts out the entire facts in the public domain, his version of facts, and we have seen how the Congress party has responded. The fact that the case did not get quashed by the Apex Court or by the Delhi High Court is also an indication of how they find merit in the nature of this charge. Of course, it is a subject of investigation. But looking specifically about the timeline of the case, Ashish, is this the first time that Rahul Gandhi is being questioned by the ED in all these years?
Yes. In fact, I must say that, since the Gandhi Parivar came into being, to my understanding and to my knowledge, it has never happened that an agency has questioned the members of the Gandhi family. So for the first time that they are being, somebody from the Gandhi family has been summoned and questioned by an investigative agency. Having said that, it's basically procedural. We can make, because it's obviously there is a lot of political angle into the entire story, and it is because Rahul Gandhi is being summoned, and then Priyanka Gandhi coming to drop him, Sonia Gandhi also being summoned for 23rd. But ultimately, one has to realize the fact that it is procedural. It is if there is an ECIR that has been registered, then if there are people who are named as accused in the matter, then they have to be questioned at least once by the Enforcement Directorate, because they have to ultimately file a prosecution complaint against that ECIR in the court of law. So here, it's procedural that Rahul Gandhi has been called for questioning, and then Sonia Gandhi will be called for questioning, because they have been named as accused in the complaint filed by Subramaniam Swamy, and the cognizance has been taken by the court.
Okay. So now the questioning has happened and is continuing to happen of Rahul Gandhi. Today is day 2. Ashish Maharishi, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Desh Ratnanigam is an advocate. He joins me live. We also have Dr. Anshul Avijit, Congress spokesperson. Desh Ratnanigam, as an advocate, I'm just trying to understand exactly, if the Enforcement Directorate has been investigating this case for almost several years now, then why is the questioning happening so late?
Well, in fact, certain new materials as per Mr. Subramaniam Swamy was submitted to the Enforcement Directorate, a 300-page set of documents, and a complaint was made, and an ECIR is being registered, which is like an FIR. And therefore, it is mandatory to investigate if some prima facie substance is found in that. And that questioning is going on. And if you notice, Rahul Gandhi is being very careful, because any statement made to the Enforcement Directorate is admissible in evidence, which is unlike a statement given to the police. So I think every caution and precaution and all kinds of legal inputs has been given to Rahul Gandhi ji, and is being very cautious, because that is why so much of time is being taken for questioning. Otherwise, so much of time is generally not taken, and it is being done in the written format, so it can be brought to the court. And the very fact that, as your channel was just stating, that Mr. Rahul Gandhi seems to have not refused to write something, which in my opinion as a lawyer would be that the moment the questioning ends, probably they'll move to the court and retract their statement given to the Enforcement Directorate at the first given opportunity.
But Mr. Desh Ratnanigam, if on each and every page Rahul Gandhi is signing it, and the fact that yesterday the questioning ended around 8:30 p.m. and he exited the ED office around 11:30, it was because he was cross-checking each and every paragraph. So as far as his caution is concerned, that is of course an advice by the lawyers, he is ensuring that he is being extremely cautious. Dr. Anshula Vijit, there are enough and more issues in the country. You have two chief ministers, Bhupesh Baghel and Ashok Gehlot at present, two Congress-ruled states. Is questioning of Rahul Gandhi the priority of chief ministers as well?
Exactly our point. Why is the government so afraid? I mean, what edifice will crumble? I mean, what calamity will befall this government if it allows a peaceful protest barely of a kilometer between Akbar Road, the office of the AICC, and the Enforcement Directorate? I mean, it won't even hold up any traffic. More traffic is being held up at the moment. So the high-handedness of the government, I mean, such deep is the insecurity of this government that they cannot allow even a peaceful protest. I mean, we're not carrying any weapons. There are no knives and guns with us. We want to march up to the ED office to show support to our leadership. Not just our leadership, the leadership embodies the core values of the Congress party as embodied in the National Herald, which is a core of this, what is going on at the moment.
What is Satyagraha here? What does Satyagraha mean? Why did Mahatma Gandhi embark on a Satyagraha? Why was it? That was because...
Question.
Yes.
Excellent question, Maria.
Yes.
It was Satyagraha, to which non-violence is the central doctrine of Satyagraha.
Yes.
I mean, we invented it not in the sense... So
yes,
we use this as a tool.
Yes, so you are using that as a tool to send a political message. But that political message, perhaps, Anshula Vijit, is getting lost in the fact, that these protests are coming in the backdrop of what all has happened in this case in the Supreme Court and in the High Court. The Gandhis do not get relief from the Supreme Court. In fact, the High Court has been very scathing in its observation, asking the investigating agencies to continue with the investigation. If after so many years, if the investigation is going on, why this Satyagraha?
After so many years, why hasn't even been an FIR being filed? There are no charges being framed. Why has that not happened?
The question about the timeline and of course the point being made by the Congress party, why no FIR till now?
See, I think Mr. Anshul does not know about the process of the ED. ECIR is like an FIR. FIR is done in a police case, and when it is ED or CBI, they have this concept of RC or ECIR. So therefore, I think he should make his facts correct. It is there and the matter is being investigated pursuant to that ECIR. And let me also tell you, the fact remains that they are more worried about Prevention of Money Laundering Act, under which the questioning and investigation is going on, because a person, once it goes to the court, person is guilty till proven innocent in this particular case. It is unlike the normal police case. So I think the Congress is more worried about that, and therefore the street protest and things like that to create a perception and an optics that they are innocent. I don't know whether they are innocent or not. The fact remains it's a due process of law
so the
investigation which is going on.
But the burden of innocence is always on the accused in these cases, is very clear. But the larger question is about the political messaging that you're trying to do with these protests. Rahul Gandhi is an accused. Investigating agency summons him. He goes and he appears. That is where it should end. Why make it about some kind of a this massive show? What exactly are you trying to tell the people?
See, the fact remains that they are showing themselves as a martyrs for nothing. Martyrs merely on the basis of questioning. And believe me, nobody believes them. And even all the political parties, none of the political parties I was watching the Twitter or social media have tweeted in favor of the Congress till now on this issue. So
are you isolated, fighting your own battle here? Anshula Vijit, no support from any of the opposition parties. In fact, the Aam Aadmi Party, just as you attacked them in Satyendra Jain case, has gone out to attack you in this case.
We are completely unified. You saw the support that is coming out from within the Congress also. in this matter. But my basic question is, two basic questions. First of all, we calling this a witch hunt and political vendetta. Do tell me, Maria, which member of the BJP, despite the high-level charges that have come out against them, particularly most recently in Karnataka, where a minister had to resign. There was a suicide case, a minister had to resign. Where has the ED come knocking on the doors of anyone in the BJP? Do tell me that name. There is an overwhelming amount of ED cases against members of the opposition and against the people who speak against this government. Now, if you don't think that that is a witch hunt, any sensible person, forget about the merits or the demerits of this case. We can keep going around in circles.
No, I would have questioned it just as we did it in other cases, be it the TMC or the Aam Aadmi Party. But here, the case begins during your tenure, that is 2012. You were in power. It was a UPA government. If there was no merit in this case, for 2 years, why didn't you manage it to get it scored? To get it quashed?
It's not about a management. It's not about the management of a case.
No, that is what exactly it is. Because if you are making the other charge, then it should have been, the genesis of this case should have been during the NDA regime of Prime Minister Modi, the current regime.
In 2015, in August 2015, the case was dropped by the Enforcement Directorate. It was reopened by this government. Do you know that in that particular year, in October, it was reopened by this government who decided to pursue it? Now, if it's not a witch hunt, and look at all the other cases in front of you.
That is the point that I, in fact, asked one of the ministers also on News Epicenter yesterday, that the ED, the same investigating agencies, closes it in 2015, and then it is opened again, and then new evidences surface. If on the basis of those evidences that they have opened this case on, why no FIR then?
See, again, I am saying one has to look at the cases from 2 points of view.
Yes.
One that suppose a case is closed in a court of law. After going through evidences, a person is, acquitted, and then you cannot subsequently reopen that case or again lodge a fresh case on the same sets of evidence. Now, what happens? This was reconsideration is going on at the end of the Enforcement Directorate, where new evidence has come out and surfaced. Yes, it is their mandatory duty to investigate it. If they don't investigate, then it is a dereliction of duty on the part of Enforcement Directorate. They also know about it. They can be hauled to the court if they do not investigate.
But the conviction rate of Enforcement Directorate is also questionable. It doesn't have a very high conviction rate. So its ability to gather evidence is something that will be questioned again and again by various parties and journalists as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Desh Ratnigam and Dr. Anshul Avijit. And we are going straight to Mumbai, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is sharing a dais with Uddhav Thackeray, Devendra Fadnavis, and this is an event that has been organized, which is the Jal Bhushan building, and the Gallery of Revolutionaries is being inaugurated at the Raj Bhavan in Mumbai. And I'm going to go straight to Vinaya Deshpande, who's joining me on the phone line. Vinaya, where exactly is this event? So, Prime Minister Modi is present in this event. You can see Uddhav Thackeray now perhaps being asked to speak a few words at this event, which will be, we have seen Prime Minister inaugurate Sant Tukaram Maharaj Temple in Dehu, Pune, and the Jal Bhushan building, the Gallery of Revolutionaries at Raj Bhavan in Mumbai. Then he will be participating in other events. This is coming at a time when NCP chief Sharad Pawar has denied his keenness or interest in contesting the presidential elections, although his name was being speculated that he could be the opposition candidate for the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The issue came up for discussion after Pawar met Maharashtra Chief Minister and other Maharashtra NCP ministers as well. Let me go straight to Vinaya Deshpande. Vinaya, just put these visuals in context for us. What exactly is happening here?
Well, Maria, important day really, because you see the Prime Minister sharing this with the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. There haven't really been many moments when this has been witnessed in Maharashtra. We can see that the Prime Minister from Maharashtra visit today initially went to Dehu, and from there he came to Mumbai, where he was received by Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, along with his son Aditya Thackeray, the Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar. Right now, the inauguration of the Revolutionary Galleries, that program continues at Raj Bhavan in the Darbar Hall, where the Chief Minister continues to address the crowd. But clearly, this public event has set political tongues wagging, particularly on the background of the recent Rajya Sabha elections. The fact that the Prime Minister has come down and that, there are at least two public programs where he's sharing days with the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Remember, just a few hours ago, there was a fresh controversy on whether Ajit Pawar, the Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, was deliberately not allowed to speak on the Assembly, and we are seeing several political reactions from on that as well. On that background, right now, before Prime Minister's address, we are seeing the Chief Minister speaking about the Revolutionaries Gallery here in Raj Bhavan.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Vinaya. You're slipping into a short break on those visuals. Lots more news and updates on the other side.
Woman once